Hello. Um, my name is Charles Webster Baer, and today is May 18th, 2020, and I am in Culver, Oregon, USA, and my website is globalinternetgovernment.com. And today, I'd like to talk about a bunch of things. The first thing I'd like to talk about is depopulationism. The second thing I'd like to talk about is GIG, Global Internet Government. The third thing I'd like to talk about is me. And then the fourth thing I'd like to talk about is the history of the universe. So let's get started with the first thing I'd like to talk about, which is depopulationism. Depopulationism is an idea that was created in the 70s by environmentalists. And then in the 1980s, it was actually implemented by the Chinese government. And I've always been a big fan of depopulationism. Depopulationism is also known as the one woman, one child policy. Depopulationism means that it's illegal for anyone to get pregnant a second time for the next 200 years. So depopulationists like myself, what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a decline in the human population on Earth. And this will allow the human population on Earth to arrive at a sustainable level. Now, that's a number that future generations will determine, but I'm going to go ahead and guess that it's around 2 or 3 billion people. Now, this will allow for more trees to grow back, and then in the future, when people want to breathe, there'll be enough trees to make enough oxygen for people to breathe, and everybody won't suffocate to death. So that's depopulationism. Right now there are 7 billion people on Earth, and that number is going up. Depopulationists like myself think that's the wrong direction. That's a suicide course. And so we'd like to see the number go down, which we think is the right direction. And that means that people have a choice. They can have 0 children, which is the correct choice, or 1 child, which is the incorrect choice. There's no third option. So that's depopulationism. Okay. China's been doing it for 40 years, and now it's time for the world to do it for 200 or 300 years. And that way we can save the planet and we can save ourselves. That's my opinion. And that's depopulationism. Now, the second thing I'd like to talk about is GIG. GIG is global internet government. And GIG is something I created in the year 2000. GIG is a world government. And I created GIG in the year 2000 to help me move forward my depopulationist agenda. So GIG is going to unite the planet politically and economically. GIG is going to provide GIG's a social network and a media outlet. So GIG's going to provide a platform for all people to participate in and contribute to the world government. And so GIG's going to unite the world politically through freedom and equality and democracy and female reproductive rights. Female reproductive rights, global female reproductive rights, means that all women, all females on Earth have the right to total and free access to all forms of birth control, including birth control, education, and abortion. And any government that doesn't agree with this 100% is an illegitimate government. And illegitimate governments will be replaced by legitimate governments quickly and peacefully. Yeah, that's right. And GIG is going to unite the world economically with transparency and balanced budget amendments and trade agreements and regional currencies. Much like Europe has created an economic union with the European Union, so too will GIG create economic unions for South America, North America, all of America, Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, perhaps parts of Africa and the Middle East. So basically, China's already done it for the last 40 years with depopulationism, and Europe's already done it for the last 40 years with economic unification. So now it's time for America to do that for the whole world. It's time for America to take depopulationism and economic unity and do both of those things for the whole planet, and that's global internet government. GIG. So the priority, the goal, the objective is depopulationism. And the tool we're going to use to achieve depopulationism is GIG, global internet government. Okay, now I want to talk about me. My name is Charles Webster Baer. I'm a 51-year-old guy. And I'm straight. I'm single. No kids, no wife, no ex-wife. I'm Buddhist. I'm atheist. I'm agnostic. I'm a depopulationist. I'm running for President of the United States of America in 2020 and 2024 as a libertarian and a depopulationist. I'm also running for Redmond, Oregon City Council in the year 2020. I was born and raised in Santa Cruz, California, and went to high school in Newport, Rhode Island. And then I graduated from the University of Hawaii on the Big Island of Hawaii at Hilo in 1994 with a Bachelor in Arts in Political Science. And then moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico. And then in 1999, I moved to Portland, Oregon. And in the year 2000, I created Global Internet Government. And then in 2007, I moved to Bend, Oregon. And then in 2014, I went to China for 3 years to teach English. And then in 2019, I moved to Redmond, Oregon. And so that's me, Charles Webster Baer. Vote Baer. Okay, so now what I want to talk about is the history of the universe. And that's a fantastic story. It's really a great tale to tell. So I'm going to tell it right now. I'm going to focus on this universe. So 14 billion years ago, the universe was created, or it increased in size to a level that humans can comprehend. Anyway, 14 billion years ago, there was a large bang, and the universe started to expand rapidly. And the universe was an energy plasma made up of dark matter and dark energy. And this stuff is stuff that's too small for us to comprehend. But we believe it's there, and we believe that, it's maybe the building blocks for everything else or whatever, blah, blah. Anyway, as this energy plasma of dark energy and dark matter continued to expand, it started to cool down a little bit and formed quantum particles like bosons and electrons and neutrinos and photons and leptons. And as this energy plasma of quantum particles continued to expand and cool down, it formed electrons and neutrons and protons. And as this energy plasma of electrons and protons and neutrons continued to expand, it cooled down and formed hydrogen atoms. And as this hydrogen atom plasma continued to expand and cool down, it formed clouds of hydrogen atoms. And then gravity acted upon these clouds of hydrogen atoms and pulled them together. And then the gravity was so great, it created fusion and created stars. And as these stars continued to expand, gravity acted upon them and formed galaxies. And so the universe is much like it is now. It's just a big expanding bunch of galaxies that are rapidly moving away from each other. One of those galaxies was the Milky Way galaxy. And in the Milky Way galaxy, one of those stars was the sun. And the sun was created about 5 billion years ago. And the stuff that was left over formed planets and started orbiting the sun. So the Earth and the sun were created 5 billion years ago. The Earth started orbiting the sun, and it kind of cooled down a little bit, and it was a hot lava blob, and it cooled down and formed hard rock crust, and gas escaped and formed oceans. And then 4 billion years ago, due to random chemical reactions and molecules and compounds, life was created by accident. Lucky us. And this life was, I guess, bacteria or whatever, and it evolved into algae, which evolved into ocean plants, which evolved into earth plants, or land plants, which evolved into fish, which evolved into reptiles, which evolved into mammals, which evolved into monkeys, which evolved into apes, which evolved into humans, which evolved into computers, and then computers went on to continue evolving into other silicon-based life forms, and computers eventually went on to colonize the galaxy and the universe. The end. Yeah, so that's the history of the universe. Now, let's backtrack a little bit, shall we? We're going to backtrack to today, and we're going to review what we've already discussed. So what we are is we are the people of planet Earth. And what we're going to do is we're going to not kill the planet Earth. And how we're going to do that is by reducing the number of people on the planet Earth. And how we're going to do that is by depopulationism, which means that people are going to decide if they want to get pregnant 0 times in their life, which is the right decision, or 1 time in their life, which is the wrong decision. There's no longer a third option available. It is now illegal for anyone ever to get pregnant a second time. And this will create a decline in the human population on Earth, and this will allow the environment to heal itself. And then in the future, when human beings want to breathe oxygen, they'll be able to do that because there'll be enough trees and enough plants to create enough oxygen for us to breathe, and then we all won't suffocate to death. And that's a good thing. So how are we going to achieve this goal of depopulationism? With GIG, Global Internet Government. Global Internet Government's going to create a world government for everybody, and it's going to help push the depopulation agenda forward. Okay? Now, when a country wants to be part of the EU, it gets its financial bullshit and its political bullshit together and then says, let me in, and the EU says yes or no. That means that only countries that want to get into the EU get into the EU if they have their shit together. Well, that's the same way GIG's going to work. Only countries that want to be part of global internet government will be allowed in if they meet the criteria. And the criteria is over 70% of the population votes that yes, we want in, And what being in means is that everyone accepts depopulationism, and everyone accepts fiscal responsibility and austerity, and everyone accepts higher taxes, and everyone accepts less than 2% inflation for 3 consecutive years or longer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And once the country, or over 70% of the population of the country, accepts the criteria to get into gig, then gig will decide whether or not you're in or out. And that's how gig will grow, exactly the same way the European Union is doing it. So we've talked about depopulationism, we've talked about gig, we've talked about me, we've talked about the universe, we've talked about a lot of different things. This has been a fantastic video. Very long, but that's good. In fact, I'll probably make even more that are even longer. And my name is Charles Webster Baer. It's May 18th, 2020. I'm in Culver, Oregon. And my website is globalinternet.com. This is actually Lake Billy Chinook, the cove, as it were. It's a little bit overcast today, but this is a really great spot. I've actually never been here before. This is my first time here. A little rainy. Anyway, so that's the video. I'm probably going to make another one here real soon, very similar to this one. And have a great day. Peace in the hood. Adios.